Welcome back. It's 7 after 8 o'clock news and views on Salam Media. We are going to be joined now in a minute or two by Dr. Msizi Myeza, CEO at the Council for the Built Environment. And it's all about climate change. And I guess, I've been watching mainstream media, global mainstream media, and it is absolutely unbelievable what is happening on the global scene regarding the shifting climate patterns. What we are seeing currently, and it is frightening, is either floods, unprecedented floods that we've never seen before, and fires all around the world. They started out in Europe. In Greece, and then moved to Spain and then Italy. And now we're hearing about fires, uncontrollable fires in Canada. What is that saying to us in South Africa and I guess globally regarding climate change? How seriously do we take these issues, or are some of us still taking the ostrich mentality, just burying our heads in the sand? Let's hear from Dr. Msizi. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Dr. Msizi, a very good morning. Welcome to the program. Are you with us?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? There seems to be a problem with
Yes.
this line.
Good morning. How are you? I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just wondering if we should try and reconnect because this line does sound very, very bad. Can you just say a few things to me? You are the CEO at the Council for the Built Environment. Did you hear my opening statements?
Yes, I did. Good morning.
Great. You are a little clearer now. Let's see how we proceed with this interview. What's your response when I ask the question, are ordinary people on the street taking this issue seriously, or is it a governmental issue globally?
So once again, thank you very much for offering us the opportunity. Just as an intro remark, CBE is the entity that falls within public works, which is a regulator of the professional built environment profession. And in the main, I think the question that we're posing, or in your opening remarks, that the discussion that revolves around climate change has been seen through the lenses of an elite, and it hasn't really been a societal discussion. And I think even our colleagues within the profession, there are myriads of issues that are facing us as a sector. When we started placing this item on the agenda for discussion, there were questions to say, why are we discussing climate change when we've got other matters that should be discussed? So our view as a council, besides that we are a regulator, and one of the mandates we have is to work with government in ensuring that there is sustainable development for the future generation. But I think our view is that we cannot be spectators, because the infrastructure that we lay out as professionals, be it engineers, architects, town planners, property valuers, impact society. And I think the point you were making around the extreme rainfall that we're experiencing, that also impacts us professionally, because under normal circumstances, we knew the cycle. So you knew that you can plan your project. And then maybe during the rainy season, you'll then scale down because you can't proceed, and then you can then catch up. But now it's unpredictable. So you can't even plan your project properly. Secondly, I think even the manner in which we construct our structures, be it road infrastructure or stormwater or housing, it has to take into account these changing climatic conditions. So I think it is something that we should be engaged in professionally and societally. And I'm glad that the country is taking a particular view. And I think we as professionals in the built environment sector, we have a responsibility to contribute.
Okay, Doctor, I'm going to ask you to move around. The line is very bad, and this is a very important discussion to be had and to be heard widely. I'll be coming to the built environment Climate Change Indaba in a minute or two. But still
Mhm.
speaking to my opening remarks this morning regarding the wildfires that we're seeing in the Northern Hemisphere, we are going to be entering our summer season very shortly. And we know that every year without fail, sadly, very sadly, we hear about fires. On Table Mountain, and it wipes out flora and fauna that is indigenous to our country. It's a huge
Mm.
tourist attraction, and it really does cause devastation, unprecedented devastation. We need to be prepared for that. How do we prepare to mitigate against such natural disasters? Sometimes it's even, we know in the past, man made, careless people throwing a cigarette butt or having a braai fire and not extinguishing it properly, etc. Um, how do we mitigate? What is it that we need to know? What are the type of messages we put out to the general public to start respecting the environment and doing right by the environment?
I hope I'm clearer now.
You are, thank you,
Our
yes.
view, our view is that let's simplify the discussion, because when we speak about climate change from uh, offloading data and fear mongering and scaring people about the future that we're going to be burning, I think that tends to shut out everyone. If we simplify it to say, please, when you go to the Table Mountain, for example, when you smoke, don't throw the cigarette butt, because it's going to cause fire. And when the fire happens, that's what's going to happen on the animals that are residing in the area. And. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is to target youngsters like your kids. If you teach our kids that don't litter, they will grow up to be responsible citizens. You go to universities and start teaching about climate change, not because it's a model, but because we want to change behavior of society, about the impact of us as humans on this world. I think we'll actually stand a better chance. So our proposition, which I think will make a submission strongly to the Climate Change Commission, is to say let's have a simplified discourse, but it must be inclusive. It must include women. It must include young people. It must include the vulnerable group of society, because in each and every disaster that we've encountered, the face of those disasters are women and children. You can see what happened in Devon, what happened in Port St. John's, what happened in other parts of the country when we had disasters. The faces of those climate flooding disasters are mainly women. And I think our view as professionals that before we become professionals, be it a civil engineer, be it a town planner, you are a citizen or you are a resident in a particular area in a ward. And therefore, we all have that responsibility to contribute in this climate change discourse.
Dr. Mzizi, the other issue that I do want to touch on, and I know that certain people would think that it's already been addressed 10 years ago, for that matter, if not longer, um, but I'm still seeing the ravages and the carelessness of those actions, and I'm talking about the plastic bag campaign. Go to any waterway in South Africa where there's a river, a dam, a park, a stream. We know what's happening in the oceans as well. And you see all of the litter washing up. It's plastic bags and a lot of rubbish. And that tells us directly that we are not responsible citizens. And I know we're going to talk built environment and climate change, but all of this has an impact in some way or the other. And that's really a very sad indictment of us as citizens of the country, as the people that live in the immediate communities. We are just not active enough. What more needs to be done? How do we change the narrative? How do we change the education campaigns to get the message through to the people that if you're sitting in a taxi, for example, and you're eating a packet of chips or crisps or having a chocolate, don't throw your paper out the window. Because if 1 million people are doing that, just imagine the impact on the environment. We're also hearing that landfills, we here in Gauteng, for example, and I suppose all over in South Africa, we don't have landfills any longer. Where are we going to take all of our, our refuge, our refuse? What's going to happen to us? What's your thoughts on all of those? It's very, very worrying, is it not?
No. It is a worrying factor indeed, because I think for me, the fact that we have campaigns of cleaning our town is an indictment on us as South Africans, that we don't take care of the environment. One. But the second issue, while we want to impose all the regulatory measures, it should be easily accessible for one to have a dustbin. Not just a dustbin that enables you to separate at source. For example, you can't mix tins and plastics and cardboard. And those are some of the innovative measures that, from a government perspective and a private sector perspective, it should be easily accessible for one to actually separate your waste in your house before you can throw it out. Because in that way, we are able to use those that can be recycled and take them for recycling. And those that need to be trashed away, at least we are minimizing the impact on our waste side. But I think my view really is about enhancing our messaging, campaigns, and ensure that, when you are driving as a parent and you start littering, your child will say, "Daddy, don't litter." And you actually stop that, because kids, they are better teachers. So perhaps it might be late for some of us who are elderly, but I think for young generation, I think we should really spend more time educating them about the conduct and their behavior on how it impacts the climate and the earth in general. And then I'm sure moving forward, we should be able then to impose regulations and find mechanisms to support those. In other countries, you'll find that there are incentives. So in some places, when you bring certain amount of litter, you can access their metro bus system. And so we need to find different ways of managing our waste. And I think it's an indictment indeed that when you drive along the coastal, the amount of litter you find, it's really, really bad. But I think we have to start somewhere, and we can't just throw our hand in the air and give up. So there is a reason why, as a profession, we thought, let's join hands and start encouraging our colleagues to do their bit. And that's really what it is.
Okay, we're going for an ad break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the built environment, climate change in Indaba, which is actually very huge. We also need to understand how it ties in with the BRICS summit, and if these issues are in fact going to be raised at the BRICS summit. So please don't go away. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in literally a minute or two.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
At the time, I didn't feel that great because I trained very hard. And I couldn't take a picture on the podium because they wanted me to take my scarf off.
It was a confusing moment for all of us because it's never happened before. Nakiba also was feeling conflicting because she wanted to approach the podium.
At first, I never saw myself in completing a national tournament. I just tried my best along the way, but I wasn't expecting to be at that type of level.
A young South African 16-year-old Nakiba.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib Black Seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib Black Seed. You can find Tib Black Seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
It is exactly 8:25. This is News and Views on Salam Media. We're talking with CEO at the Council for the Built Environment, and that, of course, is Dr. Msizi Myeza, and we are going to also touch on the Indaba that's happening on the 31st of August and the 1st of September. Welcome back, Dr. Msizi. From micro issues, let's now move on to macro issues, and that's the Built Environment Climate Change Indaba that's going to be taking place. Let's understand what are the issues that's going to be raised there, and how this, earlier on in the interview, you did touch on issues around, building of homes, building of, I guess, building of any structure in the country, and what considerations would need to be taken into account regarding climate change and the built environment. So over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think as a starting point, what prompted us as a council to convene such a session, it's been a series of engagement that we had with our like-minded partners and other policymakers, such as the Sustainability Institute in Stellenbosch and other colleagues, that we then said, we are experiencing unprecedented flooding in this country and disasters that arise as a result of that. Could it be that, yes, it's a climate change and it's a disaster like it can happen anywhere? But what becomes the role that we play? So we convened a smaller group, and then arising out of that, we agreed that perhaps we as a collective need to come up with a series of interventions that we can then make a formal submission. One, around policy and regulations and incentives and procurement regime that governs the work that we do. Just to expand on this one, if you are a road construction designer or a consulting company, and then you are given a project to build a road, including the stormwater and any other stuff that comes with it.
Sorry, Doctor, can I interrupt you there, please? Can I just ask you to move around? The line, it just seems to be getting worse. Maybe just move around a little and see if we can hear you better.
Can you hear me now?
No, there's still a bit of an interruption. Maybe just move a little to your left or your right or something. Just do some magic.
I'm not sure where
Okay.
I am.
Okay, you're perfect. You're perfect now. Continue.
Okay. Now, I was making a point that we then agreed that as a start, what are the key areas that we must look into? One of them were issues around policy, regulations, and procurement regime that governs the work that we do as professionals. Now, just to expand on this one, you'll find that if you are given a project to design a road infrastructure that comes with stormwater and other assets that comes with it, in terms of the engineering language, the way you do that work is rigid, it's predictable, and everyone knows how much time is going to spend to design a particular facility. But if you have to take into account the climate change issues, it requires that you must spend a bit more time. And there is no incentive for that time you spend. Because in terms of the tendering system, the rates are predetermined. And therefore, it basically works against creativity. The second issue is about the built environment education. You go to any of the 7 institutions that teaches civil, I'm using that as an example, you'll find that climate change is not part of the first year curriculum. It's not part of the second year curriculum. It's not part of the third year curriculum. You only start getting exposed to climate change issues in your 4th year. And with our views that we think it's too late. The third issue is about inclusivity. I think the point that you made, that we cannot have this discussion. Yes, it will be a lot of researchers, professors engaging on this matter and presenting their papers. But we think the discussion must be inclusive and must enable the participation of the broader society. As such, we will be engaging with Abahlali Basemjondolo to use them as an example to say, help us to mobilize society and other stakeholders to come into the forum so that we can actually hear their views and put them in as part of our formal submission. The last one is about appreciating indigenous knowledge. You will appreciate that if you go to any village or town, there will be people who've been living in that area. They have an idea on the environment that impacts them and where they build and how they build. And I think from a built environment point of view, we think there is a need for us to go back and revisit why the Zulu people, for example, use the Rondavels, why the Tswana people build in a particular way. And I think that should be part of the discourse in terms of how we mitigate climate change, because we can't ignore that before we came as professionals, people were residing in different parts of our country. And I think somehow we've left some of those lessons outside of the mainstream broader discussion. And I think that's really what, in essence, the conference will be about. But lastly, just to say, we want to use the Indaba as a rebuilding of society using infrastructure and onshore healing, because as a custodian of the built environment, we impact society through infrastructure rollout. That's the only way we can contribute, that we come up with innovative ways of building a community.
Amazing indeed. I wish we could have more time to talk some more around this issue. Very quickly, please tell us when and where the Indaba is happening, and can anybody attend? And how do they register to attend?
Indaba is taking place in Durban at the Olive Conference Center. It's an open invitation. So you can go to the CBE website and you'll be directed how to register. It's very simple. It's quick. It will take you less than 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes to register, to complete the registration, and then you can come through. There will be a series of engagements with distinguished speakers, and it is available for everyone to come through. And we appreciate if people can attend, not just attend, but more so contribute in helping us to rethink the urban development in our country.
Dr. Msizi Myeza, CEO of the Council for the Built Environment, talking to us about the Indaba that's going to be happening on the 31st and the 1st of September in KZN. But, and of course, it's open. Registration is free and you can attend for free. Hopefully it goes well. In fact, I'm more than certain it's going to go very well. And we will talk with you in the coming weeks to get an update of how the Indaba, actually, the outcomes of the Indaba and the way forward. So thank you indeed for your time this morning. Go well.
Thank you very much. Apologies for the line.
No problem. It's out of your hands. Okay, it's 8:33 News and Views right here on Salam Media. Next, we are going to be talking with Mika Kubai, researcher at the Institute for Global Dialogue. And of course, the big talking point, it's going to be the big talking point for the next 2 weeks at least. We are going to be touching on the BRICS summit. So please become a part of the conversation. We'd love to hear your views.
Breaking stereotypes.